What is going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Daily Energy Newsbeat Stand-Up here on this gorgeous Tuesday, April 11th, 2023. As always, I'm your humble correspondent, Michael Tanner, coming to you from an undisclosed location here in Dallas, Texas, joined by the executive producer of the show, the purveyor of the show, and the director and publisher of the world's greatest website, EnergyNewsbeat.com, Stuart Turley. My man, how we doing today?
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. You gotta love it. It's Monday.
It really is. It's a good day. We've got a great show for you guys lined up as you listen to this here on this Tuesday. First up on the menu, the biggest losers of $100 oil. This is a really fascinating article that Stu will dive into and break down what happens at really, from what we saw at $100 oil and moving forward. Great article. Next up, concentrated solar power is an old technology making a comeback. Here's how it works. If you're a fan of James Bond, I think one of the new ones involved one of these facilities. So Stu will dive into everything on that next. Lessons of the energy crisis. Energy policy is national security policy, and Stu will be covering what is going on and some of the lessons that are being learned from this energy crisis that we still find ourselves in. And then finally, Matador Resources to pay $6.2 million in fines over Permian Basin pollution. Tisk. He'll kick it over to me. I will quickly cover what's going on in the oil and gas market. Oil settling a little bit lower there, a little bit below 80, which is not unfortunate, but I think, again, as the dollar goes, so does crude. Nat gas up a little bit off a little bit of a decent weather forecast. But we'll let you get out of here quickly, guys. But first, as always, check us out. World's greatest website, www.energynewsbeat.com, the best place for all of your oil and gas news. Check out dashboard.energynewsbeat.com. Our data and news combined. Get it while you still can. Stu does a great job of curating Energy Newsbeat to really make sure everything there that you need to stay up to date on what's going on in the energy markets there. Again, www.energynewsbeat.com. I'm out of breath, though, Stu. Where would you like to begin?
Hey, let's get rolling here. The biggest losers of $100 oil. Michael, who do you think would be the biggest losers of $100 oil would be?
The poor.
You got it. The poor always, I'd call it anybody, actually has to work for a living. Triple digit oil will complicate central bank efforts to quell inflation. The $90 and $100 will hit the economies of the large oil importers. The biggest losers will be Asia's developed economies, heavily dependent on oil imports. All of that doesn't sound real good, Michael. Here's the critical thing. And if we've seen what the Fed has been doing with, everybody is saying, in fact, you've mentioned it a bunch, and that is they let the interest rates go for so long that they have hampered or caused inflation through their policies. You take a look at printing money and then their policies. The only way that we're going to be able to solve inflation is by solving the energy crisis. That's why this is part one of the article here. You sit back and say the United States will see higher gasoline prices, but it will not be the biggest loser, not financially, from the OPEC plus cuts. And the U.S. is the biggest loser. The biggest loser is the Biden administration, which has spent the year, and I'm quoting out of the article here, to persuade Americans that the president has helped lower the prices at the pump, which hit a record high in June. Okay, Michael, he took out all the money, all the stuff out of the SPR in order to lower the gasoline at the pump, and in the SPR. So, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously, as you like to say, the poor always take it in the drive-through. And with these higher gas prices, they do take it in. I mean, I saw this really funny meme the other day. It was like how people think oil and gas executives fill up their gas tanks. And it was like this dude dancing at the gas station, like filling up his gas. It was really funny. I'll try to find it and put it in the description here. But I mean, the poor always lose. I also think as this article mentions, these oil importers, I think you're going to see countries like Japan. It's going to hit them really hard. They're a primary importer of
Right.
oil. They're going to get that's unfortunately not going to be good. They don't have the strongest currency over there to begin with. So now all of a sudden, rolling over and having to pay more for oil imports,
Right.
not good, not good. Europe clearly is going to obviously be hurt. So that it's not too difficult to kind of figure out the end, second order thing and figure out who the players are, but I would not want to be Japan right now. I'll tell you that much.
No. But you sit back and take a look. I know you get tickled every time I say the dark fleet, but right now India is paying,
The
I
dark
believe,
fleet.
I believe it's around $64 Russian oil. And so, it's they're not paying the $100 oil.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the concentrated solar power is an old technology making comeback. Here's how it works. Michael, the reason I brought this one up is quite honestly, do you remember the movie Sahara with Matthew McConaughey? They had one of those in there.
Yep. Absolutely.
Concentrated solar power uses mirrors to focus heat from the sun to drive a steam turbine and generate electricity. One of the biggest problems that we have right now with any of the renewable and storage is actually, what do you do with solar at night?
Mhm.
Yeah, oops. So if you actually, this is making a comeback, concentrated solar power, because the heat pump is actually there at night because all the things are there. So energy storage is actually part of this uh, process. So here's why I thought it was interesting for this to start taking up and taking a look at it again. But it's still going to be a huge waste of land, but it does take up the storage. Just thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this definitely does look like something out of like a Clyde Dressler novel. It's a great movie, by the way. Yeah, I'm skeptical that this is a whole lot to do. I mean, this seems like throwing good money after bad research.
Um, hey, it was worth a shot. But
Literally.
ooh, okay, let's go back to lessons learned of the energy crisis. Michael, this article is absolutely phenomenal. When you sit back and take a look at the number one problem, just like I mentioned a second ago, is the only way to solve the financial crisis is to, I hate to say this, but go back to near zero inflation or interest rates to get the capital moving again, and then actually fix the global energy pricing structure. Won't happen otherwise. So, just over a year ago, the Russian tanks rolled into Ukraine. Russian hydrocarbons stopped flowing to Europe. But you started taking a look also on Europe, got into their problems by looking at just saying, hey, we don't need long-term contracts. Long-term contracts caused Putin and a weak U.S. strategy to jump into and go start the war in Ukraine. Guess who's learned from that? China. China saw in the UAE, was it 27 years, Michael, that
Mhm.
we just talked about a little while ago? So you sit back and go, China took a note. And then you take a look at the next piece of the energy crisis that we're learning on is ESG, and ESG funding. Let me find that spot in here. And also there's a wake up call, Michael, in this other paragraph in here about energy. The vehicles, the electric vehicles will require vast amounts of electricity that can be generated by renewable, that cannot be generated by renewables alone
Mhm.
or distributed. And the other piece of this puzzle also is China is building one coal plant per week, and they are currently using more coal than the rest of the world combined.
That's insane. A coal plant a week?
Yep. and they are burning more coal than any place else combined in the world.
Talk
So
about making coal great again.
making coal great again. So what in the world is the United States going to do in order to help solve the climate crisis? Not a thing. There is nothing that we can do that can save the global problems. Now, what you are seeing is a change in finance. There's another article coming around on that, probably on Wednesday or Thursday.
Oh, well, we'll keep tuned. What's this next one?
Matador Resources to pay $6.2 million in fines over Permian Basin pollution. This is a very long article. Just kidding. It's only 3 paragraphs. The EPA said in its settlement with Matador will result in a reduction of more than 16,000 tons of air pollutants that are harmful to human waste. They've been using high free cash flow to strengthen its balance sheets. So what the reason I put this out there, Michael, is more and more regulations are coming, and they are actually going to be after carbon capture, no matter whether or not you believe it or not. Carbon capture and methane capture is here to stay.
Well, I think buried in this article, we also see that Permian Resources, ticker symbol PR, agreed earlier this month to pay a $610,000 environmental in violation fine. So I mean, they're ticky tacky right now. Don't jaywalk around the EPA.
No, do not. And then the 30,000 IRS agents. I mean, what are they going to do? Start putting EPA agents out there with guns?
EPA agents are now are strapping now.
Oh yeah. Ooh. Okay, that's it for me. I'm gonna go hang out in the corner.
Yeah, I think of the finance size guides. We saw the SPY trade up about 1/10 of a percentage point. NASDAQ trades down a 10th percent of the point. Headline on oil is really settling lower here at 79.84, mainly due to rate hikes, even considering the tighter supplies. With the OPEC cuts that we saw last week. So again, obviously OPEC is going to be able to come out, do some things that can move markets momentarily. But again, as the dollar rises, so does oil go in the opposite. Again, I think partially seeing that the rising US dollar came in really after the US jobs data report that we saw this morning pointed to what's probably a tighter labor market than people thought. So that's going to fortunately drive oil prices lower. On the nat gas side, we did see a little bit of a bump, $2.81, up about 2.5 percentage points. It was trading at one point slightly below $2. Again, we saw a little nice weather forecast come in. It'll be a little bit colder throughout the Midwest and the Northeast coming through this and early next week. So I think you're going to see a positive built on prices. I think looking at the range of expectations for our natural gas storage build, it'll be somewhere about 35 BCF. That's where NGI thinks it. That range of expectations anywhere between 20 to 40 BCF. Last year, we had an 8 BCF build. So it'd be interesting to see what natural gas does. Crude oil, we'll see. The API will drop their crude oil inventory estimates tomorrow. I'd look for a little bit of a build, but we will see how the numbers shake out. And it was a pretty quick one today, Stu. You got anything else for him?
No, it's going to be a crazy week with all the reporting going on, and we got the reports, and holy smokes, it's going to be rugged.
We will be there, and we will be covering it like a fly on rice. But with that, guys, we'll let you get out of here, get back to work. I could have said the other way, but I decided against it.
Thank you. This is a
PG show. We're gonna let you guys get out of here. Thanks for checking us out. World's greatest podcast, energynews.com. Stuart Turley, I'm Michael Tanner. We'll see you tomorrow, folks.